Welcome to the Body Nerd Show, empowering you with the super uncomplicated things you need to know about self-care and movement so that you too can wake up every day pain-free. I'm your host, Alexandra Ellis, and I'm a coach, writer, former yogi, kettlebell devotee, and 100% body nerd. So, are you ready? Let's get nerdy! Welcome back. You're listening to episode 28 of the Body Nerd Show. On today's episode, I'm sharing all about why you probably don't need an MRI, the limitations of medical imaging, why an X-ray or MRI may not be the most helpful first step, and why the appearance of structural damage doesn't have to mean pain. But before we get into all of that, just want to remind you that show notes, fun links, free downloads, and the Body Nerds group all live over at aewellness.com/podcast. There you'll find links to follow me over on Instagram, where I post weekly bodywork fixes. I'm at Hala for Mala. And information on the upcoming Body Nerd Garage that's happening this October 2019. And it's a weekend of nerdiness here in Los Angeles where you can learn the latest techniques to get stronger and more flexible in both body and mind from me, a breathwork coach, and a doctor of physical therapy. Also at aewellness.com/podcast, you can get the free Body Freedom Self-Assessment, which is a quiz that, based on your responses, will guide you towards the best next step for you to get rid of tension, stiffness, soreness, and pain. So, why are we talking about MRIs today? A few months ago, I was experiencing what seemed to be the symptoms of hip impingement. Basically, I had some pain at the front of my hip, and it was increasingly becoming more and more difficult to do any type of inner thigh stretches. So if you've ever thought that, oh, obviously, since I'm a body nerd and a body detective, I must be impervious to pain and accidents. No, that's not true. So the reason why I ended up in the office of my chiropractor is because everything I had tried up until that point wasn't working. I had been doing body work for my inner thigh. I'd been stretching. I'd been doing exercises. Like, when everything I can do has exhausted, then I know it's time to call in the big guns. And my chiropractor, whom I really, really enjoy, and I really like him and I respect him, and his suggestion for how to deal with this, he did a test and figured that based on how I felt within that test, that it most likely was a hip impingement, and that probably I should go get some imaging if it got worse. Now, you know me, I'm not one to sit around and wait for things to get worse, because sitting around and waiting for things to get worse is not a plan. Also, getting imaging is pretty passive, and I knew that, sure, I could go schedule and get an MRI, but where does that leave me? And so that's what we're talking about today, about why you probably don't need an MRI, because an MRI doesn't tell the entire story. Even for me, if I had gotten the MRI, okay, yeah, your hip is a little bit impinged and that's your diagnosis. Okay, cool. What do I actually do? And that's what I find to be a better question. What is my best next step? And the thing is about MRIs and X-rays and any type of imaging, they're probably going to find an issue. In fact, a 2016 study from the Orthopedic Journal of Sports Medicine did shoulder MRIs on 53 adults without shoulder pain between the ages of 45 and 60. And all of the participants had no history of surgery or injury to either shoulder, and they randomly selected which shoulder they decided to image. And what they found is labral tears, and the labrum is the cartilage that lines the ball and socket joint. Labral tears occurred more than half the time in both males and females. And remember that participants were pain-free at the time of imaging. So here's a random selected study. Of course, you know, there could be a variety of reasons, but almost half of the people had an issue on their MRI, and yet they didn't have pain. And so what that tells me is that getting an MRI, getting image, while it might be helpful to know what's going on the inside, it's still not a solution towards the right thing. And your treatment plan, if you have hip pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, it all kind of comes back to the same thing and the same solution. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. Because medical imaging is a technology that has saved countless lives through its ability to allow healthcare professionals to see beneath the skin. I had sinus surgery in college, and had my surgeon not been able to see inside my sinuses with the magic of an MRI, like it would have been a way different outcome. So I'm not saying don't ever get an MRI. What I'm saying is that it might not be the most beneficial first step. So for my hip, instead of going down that MRI route, I decided to work on the issue and imbalance that was happening in my body. So the technical term for this is Neuromuscular Re-Education, which is teaching your body how to fire, teaching your tissues how to do what they were designed to do. Because when there is an issue of pain, there's many signals that can change how things are firing. And also, just from being a human in the modern world, especially sitting, stuff changes. So I reached out to my friend, Dr. Sarah Court at Posture Works here in Santa Monica, and we did about 3 sessions together, and I actually worked with her assistant, who's also Sarah. But guess what? The pain went away. I didn't have to go get an MRI, and the pain went away because the issue and the imbalance was due to the fact that my body wasn't firing where it needed to be. There were blind spots that, when illuminated and my brain and my muscles then knew how to work together, there was no more imbalance. When your body is firing and functioning as it should, you just don't have pain. It literally can be that simple. And the other thing to consider about medical imaging, again, whether it's an X-ray, an MRI, or what have you, is what are you going to do about the additional information that it also captures? So, for example, if you have no pain, but then you know that you have a bulging disc or a tear, and it might have been there for who knows how long, how will that affect your mindset? Because it does matter. When you know that something is happening, it is going to affect how you perceive it. I am almost convinced that there are probably bulging discs, probably meniscal damage, but I don't have pain. And so you just have to weigh that for yourself. Does it really matter to you to know? Does it actually hurt? Or is it because you know that there's a problem and that has become the story? And then, of course, it has to hurt because you have this diagnosis. Mindset is so critical. And we can't pretend that how you think about something doesn't also affect how it feels. It 100% matters. And in episode 21, go back and listen to Devin Kaju's story of how he healed himself even when multiple MRIs said otherwise. So your experience of the issue is affected by your mindset. And for me, I've made a conscious decision that I don't need to know. Now, all of this is to say, if I had a positive test on that hip impingement thing that my chiropractor did, and I did some physical therapy, and I had zero change, 100%, I would level up and go get some medical imaging. So it's not that medical imaging is the wrong choice. It's that I think more often than not, we turn to it as our first line of defense, when really it should be 3rd or 4th tier. When normal body work and activation and tuning up your posture and getting really clear on how your body is firing, when that doesn't work, call in a professional, work with somebody one-on-one. And then when that doesn't work, then go get the medical imaging. Because when we go get the medical imaging and then we wear this label, it's almost like a scarlet letter that, oh, I have bulging discs. Like I hear that all the time from students. And my follow-up question is always, but are you in pain? Because it can be really, really difficult to mentally separate that label from how we actually feel. But if the answer is yes, yeah, I have pain, then do the appropriate next step. Because just because you have something showing up on your MRI, it also doesn't mean that surgery is your only option. As I've shared on this show before, pain is a very complicated beast. And while it often follows structural damage, like a labral tear, like a meniscal tear, and what have you, it can also be before damage, right? You can have pain before there's a structural issue. And finding a tear in a joint doesn't mean that repairing that tear is going to fix everything. In fact, the invasiveness of the surgery will probably cause a bunch of other issues, from scarring and the negative effects of downtime and compensation. Like, all of those will probably be an even bigger issue during recovery. So while the structural damage might not heal in the moment, learning to stabilize the area or the joint through corrective exercise, through body work, so you can help prevent some of that guarding that might be going on, that can help to lessen pain tremendously. And I get it. It's not a quick fix, but neither is surgery. So the big takeaway for you today is, if there is an injury, just hold up a minute before you go get that MRI, because knowing what's underneath the skin comes with some consequences, but also the imaging itself and the time and the investment of money isn't going to fix the problem. It's just simply not. Learning how to use your body and to move smarter and to take care of your tissues every single day is going to get you a lot farther than an MRI. As always, it's totally your call. But if this is you, I'd love to help you get to the bottom of what's going on, which is exactly what happens inside Movement Mavens. And everyone who joins my membership community also gets a mobility assessment, where we figure out exactly how you're moving and where you can make specific improvements. Inside Movement Mavens, you get a welcome kit with all the bodywork tools you need, twice monthly group coaching sessions so you can learn cutting edge info that you can instantly put into practice, access to my growing video library with tons of demos and workouts, all designed to help you move smarter and get stronger. And then you get to join a group of badass body nerds and get support from me whenever and wherever you need it. So Movement Mavens is totally for you if you've tried all the things and nothing is helping. So head on over to aewellness.com/mavens to learn more. So that's it for today. Here's to asking better questions, moving more, getting nerdy, and maybe asking some more questions before you get that MRI. If you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a future episode. And you can even head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review. Not only does it always make my day, but it helps other body nerds find the show. And I want to hear your body nerd hacks. So you can either leave me a message at 818-396-6501 and tell me what you do every day to feel amazing. Or you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Hala from Hala. Tag me in your IG stories and let me know how you feel amazing and phenomenal every day. What does that look like for you? So that body nerd hotline number is 818-396-6501. And just help me spread the word that your body is super cool. You have more power than you think, and you can absolutely change the unchangeable. I'll talk to you next week. Listen, friend, we both know that you are not you when you're in pain. But the good news is you can change the unchangeable. Even if it seems like it's been forever, life without pain is 100% possible. And I can help you get there faster. Head on over to bodynerdshow.com and download the Body Freedom Assessment. You'll answer a few questions, and then you'll know exactly what your next steps towards more days of awesome should be. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it won't even take you more than 15 minutes a day.